champion. Welcome, Danny Batten.
Number one. You win.
Hey guys, and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation. I'm Sai, your host, and this is the Danny Batten Fight Show, episode number 28. We're talking UFC Vegas, I think it's number 4 from last night, with the main event of Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker, which was an absolute banger of a fight. It was very enjoyable card altogether. But before we get to that, as usual, you can get this show and all our previous shows on all different subjects, from mental health, MMA, boxing, films, TV, football, and more. YouTube.com/Ace Podcast Nation. Please subscribe. That's the best way to support the show and the channel. And you can get the audio versions at all the usual places, podcasts and apps and radio apps. You can get Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, loads of others. Everywhere we are, everywhere. And joining me to talk last night's UFC, we have former Cage Warriors champion, a British MMA legend, Mr. Danny Batten. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good, Si.
All good. Good week?
Yeah, good week. Yeah, no complaints there.
Gym's open yet, or what?
No. No.
Gotta try harder, mate. Just not doing enough.
I don't know. But I do feel like we're in the latter stages of our restrictions, and well, there'll always be restrictions there for a long time, but in terms of like getting our gym open, I think we're on the verge. Let's hope anyway.
We better hope so, mate, because with that Cage Warriors 3-night thing coming, you got to have somewhere to train your fighters.
That's it.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Joining us is Cage Warriors Featherweight, BST hot prospect, and I forgot to ask him how to pronounce his surname, so I'm going to guess. Jordan Vucenic. How are you, mate?
That's better than Danny's ever done it, so fair play.
Oh, no way.
And you didn't even tell me how to say it. That you told Danny how to say it, and he still couldn't say it right. There we go. How are you, mate? You okay?
I'm all good. I'm all good, my end.
So, before we get into the UFC, obviously, this week they announced that Cage Warriors are returning to action with 3 nights in a row on UFC Fight Pass in September, which is going to be very interesting, because I would assume that they're going to want all their biggest fighters fighting on those 3 nights, and I would anticipate jam-packed cards. Dan, do you think?
Yeah, I think if they're planning to do 3 in a row, they're going to have to keep people's interest in watching all 3. So I'd imagine they're going to stagger the big names each show. So I think you're going to have a feature fight for the first one, and even more so again for the third. I imagine that's how they're going about doing it anyway.
Yeah, and I think at the moment Cage Warriors have got quite a good mix, haven't they, of like really exciting young talent, and then they've got a couple of established names as well at the top, which I think they could maybe put the established names on the night 2 and night 3 in the main events. Maybe I'd like to see them give, like, the first night, maybe give a main event to someone a bit younger. Let them try and make a name for themselves. Because with 3 nights, there's no reason why you have to put 3 established fights on as the main event for each night. You could spread it out a bit, spread the love, as it were.
Of course.
So, Jordan, what can you tell us about Cage Warriors in September, mate? What are you allowed to tell us?
It's not what I'm allowed to tell you. I don't know anything. You know just as much as I do.
Danny, what can you tell us about Cage Warriors in September?
Well, all I can tell you is that they're very keen to have Jordan on, but the difficulty we have with Jordan is trying to get an opponent that will take a fight with him. I think that's the most difficult thing. We want Jordan still to grow his skill set and season. He's got all the skills in the gym, but needs just to mature them with the right types of opponents. It seems the only one that take him on are the already ones that are really well established. But even they can be a bit shy at times. It seems frustrating because I had this during a period of my career, and there's nothing worse than training for people, keep getting pullouts, and never knowing when your next fight's coming up. Very, very annoying.
Well, I noticed when you fought Jordan on Cage Warriors 109, you fought Conman Dare, and he was actually one of Jack Shaw's opponents, wasn't he, Dan? Which we did the
That's right.
reviews on, which I found quite interesting. But I mean, I would assume, Jordan, you're just itching to get back into it now, are you, mate?
Yes, and if bike riding and running helps you win fights, then I'm going to beat everybody, because since the gym's been shut, that's all I've been doing.
Yeah, funny enough, like I got a few friends like from various MMA promotions, and they're like, that's all I see is pictures of their Instagram and Facebooks of just bike rides, running, they'll be bloody going in the Tour de France before they fight again at this rate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So it'd be interesting. I was looking at the Cage Warriors roster overall, and there's some big names to fill, assuming they're all fit and raring to go. There's some big names which they could potentially match up over 3 nights, and I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a couple of British-based UFC maybe guys on there, because it's on UFC Fight Pass. You wouldn't be surprised if they maybe saw 1 or 2 on there. But let's have a look at this roster of talent. So obviously you've got like people like Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, who I would assume he's gonna he's itching. Well, I know he's itching for a fight, because obviously his last fight got pulled, and then he had all that trouble. Then he had a fight.
Is he going to do it at featherweight, or is he going to be lightweight? He's floated around a little bit, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think his last one was at lightweight, wasn't it?
Yeah. Because Jordan's, you have taken lightweight fights, but predominantly, it's going to be featherweight that we're. Yeah, it's going to be featherweight that Jordan's aiming.
But then the other thing as well is, if you've got like Jai Herbert, who I think he signed with the UFC, didn't he? So
yeah,
and then like obviously Modestas has gone to UFC. You got Oban Elliott, I know is itching to fight. Who else is there? Tom, I'm assuming Tom would like a fight soon enough. So there's some names, mate. I'm just trying to find. I can't find my list. I had a list of all the currently signed athletes, and I can't find it now. Typically, but yeah, they're gonna stack those 3 cards, jam packed full of fights all the way through. I'd have thought. So yeah, Cage Warriors back in September. It's going to be a busy week, Danny, for us doing podcasts.
Oh my God, that's going to be crazy.
Insane, mate, isn't it? Especially if UFC carries on with the bloody schedule they're putting out. Trying to fit in like 6 shows into one podcast. We'll have to have like a rotating special guest throughout the same show, just to like keep them awake. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've really enjoyed the last few Cage Warrior shows. So before we get into that UFC from last night, which was a really good show, really enjoyable show, particularly the main event was insane. I wanted to ask you both about Mike Perry fought in the UFC last night with no cornerman, just his girlfriend and a cat man. I've never seen that before, and I thought he won comfortably. He won all 3 rounds. What did you think of that, Dan? As someone who's a coach and a cornerman, like
I mean, ultimately, it is the fighter that's in there and getting it done. But sometimes when you're in there and you're caught up with the anxiety and the stress of what's happening, sometimes you can not read into where you are in the fight. So that's when the corner will prep you up saying, hey, look, you need more work rate, or you'll keep circling into his power hand. It could be any of these pieces of advice that will obviously come in useful. I think the reason he got away with it was the fact that he was just better than this guy. He's more physical than this guy. Although Gall did impress me with the improvements he's made on his striking, he just didn't have the kind of stature to hurt Mike Perry enough, and Mike Perry just kept walking him down using his physicality. But had Gall be able to put some serious questions to Mike Perry and then go back to his corner and not have someone to perhaps give him some suggestions to how to go about changing the direction of the fight, then you might have seen some difficulties there. But each time he went back to his corner, you can say that he won the round. So yeah, everything was quite relaxed in there. But yeah, when push comes to shove and things get difficult, that's when you're going to need a corner team to tell you some home truths and to put the firecracker up your ass if you need it, and so on and so forth.
It's it's just having different opinions and different views, different ideas, isn't it? And I think the thing which struck me is like we discussed last week, Dan, is Mickey Gall is good, on the ground and stuff, but maybe his striking is not great. But he has made massive improvements, like you mentioned. But also, whilst those improvements were good technically, they weren't really coming with a great deal of power. Like Mike Perry was just walking him down, which obviously we'll get into when we cover the fight. What did you think of that as a fighter, Jordan? Seeing Mike Perry with just his girlfriend basically in Cutman.
Do you know what? That's one of my most badass moments in MMA so far. When I was amateur, me and my mate Dan Good drove from where we are in Corby up to Leeds. So it took us like 3 hours to get there. I only had him in my corner. We didn't even know how to wrap my hands. And I went out, to be fair. I fought a BJJ brown belt and I knocked him out in the first round with a head kick. So I can't say anything. Or just leave it at that.
But yeah, I found it quite funny just because the two things that I heard her say were, I think she said about halfway through the second round, punch him in the face, like during the fight. And then after the first round, like when she was icing him down, she kind of just went, "Oh yeah, you're doing really good." And that was like the limit of it. And I was like, okay. I said,
you didn't hear any promises being put up?
No. Knock him out and you'll get lucky later. But it was strange because like they kept going to the corner when in between the rounds. I think trying to pick up just on what she was going to say because they're fascinated by her, and they just really weren't. It was just like silence. It was just odd. But I don't think he can go into fights against top tier talent and do that. I gotta say, like Mickey Gall's got a bit of potential. I wouldn't necessarily put him up there as like a top 15 fighter. So I wouldn't. Well, you never know. I suppose maybe he's more comfortable with no one. No, he likes to just get on with it himself. But to be fair to him, he made weight. He looked in awesome shape. He did everything professionally, but you just think against like a top 15 fighter, would he get away with having no advice and no coaches and nothing? I don't know. Not so sure myself. Jordan, just overall, mate, just quickly, what did you think of the last night's UFC card? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I thought it was bang on, especially the main event. I think that's where we're gonna have the most fun talking about, isn't it? But I like I said to you before we started recording, it'd be good if we could somehow bring over when everything's back to normal how the crowd's silent, so you can hear every shot landing. It'd be good if there was somehow, or even if from at home on the telly, the UFC could sort of block out the crowd noises when they want to, so you could hear those like specific shots landing.
Yeah,
it would be good. Like now with when you watch football and stuff, if you press the red button, you can have like fake crowd noise. So it'd be quite good if you could just like press the red button, take the crowd noise out of it, because I'm starting to really enjoy the lack of fans in some ways. And like I said to you before the show, like it was in the Mike Perry and Mickey Gall fight. There was one point where he was on top of Mickey Gall right at the end of the second round, I think it was, and he hit him with this elbow, and it was so loud, it echoed around the arena, and I was just surprised that Mickey Gall got up
Yeah.
Danny, what did you think of it, just overall?
Yeah, really good. It was a mixed bag. You had fights that went the distance. You had submissions. You had some knockouts and knockdowns. It was yeah, it was good, and it was a really high level performance from all that competed. To be honest, they all fought out of their skins, and that always impresses me. You know, when someone can go in there and perform better than maybe you even expect them to. Always rises my eyebrows and makes me have added respect for them. Some real tenacious performances out there.
Oh yes, very good. So the first fight was Sean Woodson versus Julian Erosa, which was a very enjoyable fight to watch. Danny, will take us through that, kind of your thoughts of the first round.
Yeah, yeah. Woodson was coming out obviously clearly tall, lean, and rangy, and he knew how to use that to great effect. He just looked incredible. The accuracy was really impressive as well, and the work rate. He was throwing all his shots with real efficiency, and actually something that I've discussed with my students in the recent past is about only throw your shots hard as you can, either to punch away out of a bad situation or to finish. Once you've already hurt someone. But initially, you want to be throwing your shots at anything between 75 and 80, 85% power. And it's exactly what Woodson was doing. He was having precision and having the work rate that he did because he weren't throwing with full 100% hip and foot twist. He was punching very much from the shoulder and accumulating just massive punches and kicks. And that was really impressive. I think it was absolute correct strategy for him to use. But, respect to Rosa as well. As much as he was getting hit and tagged up, he was carrying on trying to shut Sean Woodson down. He was just coming at him from the get-go. But nevertheless, it put Erosa down in that first round to me. He just received too many strikes. It was nice to see that they weren't affecting him and he was willing to still try to mix it up, try to create his own successes. But he did put him behind in that first round.
Who did you give to that first? Who did you give that first round to?
I gave it to Woodson.
And Jordan, what did you think of that first round, mate?
Yeah, I thought the same. Julian, the thing with Woodson is he didn't really mix any takedowns up with it, though. I think that's initially what got him so tired towards the end. But yeah, Erosa was doing good from his side, but yeah, taking too many shots, landing the odd low kick here and there, but yeah, taking too much damage first round.
And did you give that first round to Woodson as well, mate?
Yeah. It wasn't heavily one-sided, but yeah, it was the majority in his favour.
Yeah, I was the same. Just about give it to Woodson. And then round two, Dan?
Yeah, round two was good because Erosa made its intentions that he was going to try to squeeze the endurance out of Woodson. And this always makes for a great visual for the spectators. He started really pressing Woodson back. And Woodson was looking like he was, not say fatiguing, but maybe feeling the pressure. He was getting backed up against the fence. And also Erosa was shooting in a little bit more often as well to give Woodson some more aspects to think about. But I still feel like Erosa was receiving too many strikes. So push come to shove, I still gave the nod for Woodson on his work rate of strikes. But you were seeing the tide begin to turn. But in a 3-round fight, you really don't want to be going 2 rounds down, and that's how I felt it was going into the third round. I gave the second round also to Woodson.
And Jordan, round two, mate?
I don't know. I thought Erosa took the second round. I think Woodson's. That's when you really start to see him start to fade towards the second round. Am I right? He got took down in the second, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't for a long period of time, but Erosa was doing a lot more of the wrestling, and Woodson's shots just didn't have the pop on them anymore towards the second. And I don't know if that's because he's cut so much weight from being 6'3". But yeah, I'd give the second round to Erosa.
Yeah, I gave that second round to Erosa as well.
You're both wrong. And what was the punch tally on that? Because I think the punch tally was in Woodson's favour as well, wasn't it? Is there a way of getting that up to have a little?
I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to have a look.
I'm just going to try and see if I can see it.
Second round.
I don't know how I'd find it, but I'm going to try.
Second round stats. What was it? Woodson and Erosa. Yeah, I thought just Woodson looked real fatigued in that second round.
Yeah, he was getting pressured without a doubt.
Altogether, significant strikes. It was like throughout the whole 3 rounds. It was 103 to Erosa and 106 to Woodson.
Right.
But I suppose that's because the third round, Erosa just
Yeah,
switched
Rosa
off.
really ran him over in that third round.
Yeah, I can't find anything for the round by round, unfortunately.
Yeah, because I think Woodson was still way up on overall strikes.
And Woodson got a knockdown, didn't he? I can't remember which round it was. Woodson
I think
did
that
get a
was
knockdown.
that was a third round, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that was
Yeah,
the
third round.
Yeah. This was a catch weight, wasn't it? Yeah, it was 150 pound catch weight.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because Rosa took it on really short notice, didn't he?
Yeah, like super short. He only found out about it on Monday. Did his tests on Tuesday. Trained on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then that was it. So, yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? Like, to take it on that short notice and then really, like, win, like, the second 2 rounds, he kind of, his stamina and Woodson's fatigue is kind of what won him the fight. And when you consider that he only took the fight on Monday, that's quite the achievement. So yeah, me and Jordan were right. Erosa won the second round. What did you wrongly think about the third round, Danny?
Yeah, this is when you started to see Rosa's pressure really show through. Grit, determination, clearly, although taking it on short notice, has got good cardio about him. So he's obviously keeping himself in good shape and living a clean life. Yeah, that was what really impressed me. Really, he just forced the error of Woodson, which he gets caught with his head down standing, and Rosa, like he's done this in training a million times, he had an instinct for that pass, started wrapping it up in, went to the ground and snagged it up real good. There was a sticky moment in that third though where Woodson scores I think Woodson scored a knockdown on Rosa, doesn't it? So I've got my notes a bit squiggly writing it. Yeah. So it started to make me think, well, maybe all those accumulated shots from that first round had taken hold of Erosa in the third, but Erosa used that wrestling to float any more attacks being put on him. But that finish was utterly impressive. It really was. You got to remember how tall that Woodson is. He's practically 6'3", and he managed to catch him and snag him with his head down like that. And ran through with that DAS. A really, really good finish. I felt that, because he was 2 rounds down in my mind, I felt that that's why he had such urgency to go for the submission, which also proves that I was right.
Desperation, Dan. Jordan, what did you think of this fight? Like, Erosa won this round, regardless of whether he finished. Regardless of whether he finished it, he would have won the bout clearly anyway.
Yeah, I think Erosa knew he was up from that clearly 1 second round that he had. So I think going into the third, I think he again from being in there, Danny knows himself. You know when someone's tired, and he just stayed so much closer in the third round as well, landing the shots in the pocket. And then, when he locked up that DAS from standing and dragged him down to the floor.
Beautiful.
You just sort of knew it was over, And it was like a modified necktie the way he finished it as well on the bottom. Woodson was doing the right things, but once it's locked up, and you're that tired, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I always think, like, obviously not being a fighter or anything, but I always think, like, when fighters look tired, that type of choke just looks so much more difficult to get out of, because the mind is not thinking as quickly as as it would normally, and then you just don't make the same adjustments that you would if you were fresh. And that was it. After 2 minutes 44 of round 3, Julian Erosa was back in the UFC with an impressive victory. And even he said in his
against the guy high level.
Winning 2 rounds against a high level guy, and choking him out. What more can you do? But I gotta say,
guns, Danny.
That's it. The
must be quickly writing, mate.
Yeah, that's what it was. Do you know though? He said in his interview afterwards, like that, like he never expected to be back in the UFC. But then you look at it, like previously, I think he was on a 3-fight losing streak. So to come in on short notice, win
Get
convincingly,
popped up.
choke a guy out, finish, and then, you know, maybe that'll give him a bit of confidence to push on because he looked pretty impressive. Like, other than that,
Yeah.
maybe the first round, he looked good.
Yeah, I agree. He was impressive.
Next up was Jason Witt versus Takashi Saito. Only 48 seconds for this one.
Yeah, I
Not a
don't have a lot
great
of
deal
notes
to
on this
talk
one.
about. Yeah, it's pages
Yeah,
and pages of notes. Go on, Dan.
Yeah, got caught with the 1-2, didn't he?
Yeah.
The other guard had a little bit of, not even a low guard, but a little bit of an outward guard. We talk about holding different forms of guard in our training, and he was holding his guard slightly loose, a little bit too relaxed, not in the form of being down, but too outward stretched. Yeah, and Takashi caught him with the 1-2, and that led to a very slippery slope to a stoppage. Responded correctly by trying to get the takedown to try to stop the follow-up shots. But yeah, he only got hold of one leg, leaving the hip open to be able to strike with the other arm. And yeah, the ref steps in, as we're seeing so often now. Seeing the ref stepping in quite quick these days with the ground and pound. But good stoppage nevertheless.
Yeah. Anything to add to that, Jordan?
No, not really. Fair play to the other guy. He did all the right things trying to get the takedown, but when you've been rocked that bad, he probably just that was probably just instinct grabbing onto that leg, and obviously got followed up with a ground and pound. So,
It was all over 48 seconds. Next up was Brendan Allen versus Kyle Dukas. Danny, round one.
Yeah, this was a really, really good fight. Had we not had the kind of main fight that we had, this would have been the fight of the night. Kyle is, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Is it Darkus?
Dukas, I think.
Dukas or something. I'm going to call him Kyle. Really tall, really rangy, and really fluent as well, and stayed so relaxed. But they were so well matched in every area. They both seemed very, very good in their wrestling, very, very good in their striking ability, their composure, their grappling ability, and as a real technical fest, along with a good dabbling of physical exertion as well. It looked utterly tiring. They stayed skillful and conducted themselves well throughout the whole of the fight. But that first round, I edged it for Brendan Allen. He just seemed to come on top. He was a little bit crisper in everything he was doing. And in the exchanges, he just seemed to always slightly come off well, come off better. I think, I don't know which round it was actually that Carl Drakus got cut in. I don't know whether it's that first one, but he ended up getting a nasty cut. It may well have been in that first round. But yeah, it was a nasty deep cut in a bad location. So, we're kind of lucky to get through the remaining rounds with that nasty cut the way he did. But by the end of it, they was both bleeding. But that first round I gave to Brendan Allen, who's always impressed me.
Yeah, you'll be happy to know that this time you were correct. That Allen did win that first round. But yeah, it was good. I thought he got cut in this round towards the end, and it was a nasty cut as well. Jordan, round one.
Yeah, however you pronounce the name, the Kyle Dukas, whatever his name
Kyle,
was.
Kyle
He
would
was
do.
the one. He was the one pushing the wrestling as well. He was the one looking to take down, but I know he kept getting swept on the ground, reversed. I've not watched a lot of Allen's fights, but I suppose he's got a good choke on him because that's what he kept looking for, and it was getting him in. At the same time, he was using it to sweep and get himself in good positions. He was also falling. At one point, he took his back, went for the choke, and slipped off. So, yeah, first round to him, but there was some bad decision making. But it happens in every fight, every round. You make some bad decisions and some good. But yeah, round to Allen.
And all right, Jordan, we'll stay with you then. We'll switch it up a bit. What did you make of round two, and who did you give it to?
Again, round two was exactly just the same as round one. It was round one where the Kyle got cut badly, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's
again, you don't
first
know
round. Yeah.
there was a lot more striking in round two, though. Keeping it on the feet. Southpaw versus Orthodox. Round 2, I can't say who I'd give it to. I didn't watch this round 2 as clear. Round 2 is where Alan swept him, though, with the guillotine attempt right from the beginning. When the Kyle got the takedown, he got swept with the guillotine. But I'm sure that Alan reversed him and got on top. I'd say Alan won through the ground and pound second round, landing some nice elbows and tying him up well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're correct. Alan won. Well done. And Danny, what did you make of round 2, mate?
Yeah, this is a really good round. This is where we see them going toe to toe on the ground and not just the feet. They had some confident exchanges on the ground. Brandon kept going for that guillotine for a submission attempt and also using it to reverse the position to get on top. Although a couple of times it did lead him to be underneath as well for the middle duration of the rounds. But Brandon Allen was able to scramble and get himself back up on top as well to end the round strongly. And so, it forced me to give Brandon Allen the nod in that second round as well. It just seemed that with these crazy exchanges, he's always able to somehow end up on top in the more dominant position. Although, Kyle was definitely giving Brendan some issues, definitely giving him some questions to go back each time after each round. But he was still on the receiving end of what Brendan Allen was doing rather than what Kyle was putting on Brendan. So, yeah, another really good round. I was utterly impressed with both of them throughout, though. There was that knockdown as well, which was interesting because he kind of launched the strike right at the end, but he was already committed the strike when the buzzer went, which knocked Kyle to the ground. I don't think it was overall changed what the result of the fight would have been. These things can happen. It was not done on purpose. It was done by accident. But they both really impressed me with their grappling.
Another thing to add as well that Kyle kept doing, he kept from the guard, he kept getting him in a body triangle from off his back, body triangle.
That's right.
And I think when you're doing that, you sort of can't submit or anything there. You're just sort of holding on. And I think he was wasting time with it.
Yeah.
Which could have been winning with it.
And,
or doing something proactive.
Yeah. What about round 3, Dan?
Yeah, round 3 went to the ground pretty quick. This time you had Douglas on top and looking in control for a good portion of that first round. It was beginning to look like Brandon Allen maybe have shot his load in terms of his energy. Was getting north-south back to side control. Looking bloodied himself. He got a nasty strike to the. I think it was an elbow that caught him in the under eye. Really affected his eye socket. Had swelling there instantly. Blood coming also from his nose. And Douglas was on his back, and it looked really uncomfortable times for Alan. But Alan persevered. He just endured it through. I think he knew there was 2 rounds up. He just had to play it safe, and he did so, well enough to ride himself through to the end of that round. But what a great performance, from Douglas to try and pull that round out of the bag, but maybe a little too late in a 3-round fight. And also Brendan Allen was still able to break free from having his back taken for about 3-4 minutes and still end with a mass flurry. But the flurry was too late to pull back that round. Utterly impressed with both of them, and I will be looking at their careers a little bit more closely after their performance tonight or last night.
Yeah, they were both very, very impressive. And did you say you gave that last round to Alan, mate?
Oh, Douglas won that without a doubt.
On the last
round. I think that could have even been a 10-8 along with the damage and the dominance of the positions. The fact that Alan turned it around in that last minute or so and had that little mad flurry stopped it from being a 10-8 round, which would have definitely made it interesting because you could have been looking at a draw then.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, for sure. Anything to add, Jordan, for round 3?
Nah, Danny summed it all up. Well done, Danny.
Well
No,
done,
you got it all, yeah. Bad position for 4 minutes. But I think the blood as well from that Kyle in his eyes. I mean, that could have been great for his decision.
It did look like it must have troubled him because it was going into his eye the whole time. Although he weren't wiping it away, it's got to have affected your clarity of mind while you're trying to transition and stuff.
Yeah,
couldn't have been comfortable
constantly in your eyes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So well done, Danny. You made up for your error in your analysis of the first fight by wrapping up the 3rd round well. So we had Brendan Allen defeated Carl Dugas by a unanimous decision, 29-28, 29-27, 30-27. Next up was Gian Villente versus Maurice Green. This was the heavyweight fight, which was really, really... They had a weird finish, this did. Jordan, what did you make of round number 1?
So this is the one I haven't seen, so I can't comment on this one.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah, that's
we'll
right. I
leave
remember
this
you
one
said.
to Danny.
Let Danny take over.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Valente, an experienced guy, big guy in his own right, but facing the huge mountainous Maurice Green, standing 6'7", and Green did exactly what he should do, which was trying to keep a good work rate. Stay disengaged, use his length, use his size, and he worked really well on that. I think he went at a work rate that weren't exhausting him, but he was just chipping away all the time and getting ahead on that scorecard. And it was all for Valente to try to find a way around that. And I think he was struggling as much as he's an experienced guy. He was struggling to find a way in. And so, Maurice Green kind of cruised through that first round, really, to be honest. It looked a little bit too easy for him. He worked up a sweat like he was just having a workout on a bag. And, of course, as we know, a punch and kick bag can't follow and track you down. And that's what it looked like, really. He was punching and kicking at Valente, and Valente was trying to hunt for him, just couldn't find him. I think he was finding the height and the length a little bit too difficult in that first round. Convincingly went over to Maurice Green for the win on that first round.
Yeah, I thought Valente won this round.
Really?
Yeah, I did. Only just. Very, very close. Just thought his overall...
What do you know what the scoring was on there? Because I'm sure Green must have been, because Valente did land, I think, one decent strike in it, but to me it looked like Maurice Green was just outpointing him.
Is that another bad decision
No.
from Danny?
No, it would not be.
It's my
and
show.
I'm going to prove you two wrong. I'm trying to find the stats on that other one.
Nah, just accept defeat gracefully. What sort of example are you showing your fighters?
Yeah, have you not got the strike stats for this one?
Oh, I've lost them, unfortunately, so...
No, funny that.
Yeah.
No, I just felt like, to me it looked like Green was being versatile as well. He was stamping at the knee. He was landing elbows as well. He was doing long range elbows, not even clinch ones. It looked like that he was just pouring out those singles, doubles, and triples in combination. Valente was doing all the stalking, and even when he went back to his cornermen were telling him off, saying, "Look, you're doing all the right thing, getting the right location, and then not doing anything with it." And that's what I saw. He was doing a lot of stalking with no real work rate because he couldn't find his range against the tall Maurice Green. I'm looking back at the round now and just trying to chip through it quick, and I can't see where Valente was doing any productive work. He was hunting for the big shot, and the whole time he was hunting for the big shot, Green was throwing 4 or 5 shots. Okay, not all landing, but he's throwing 4 or 5 shots compared to Valente's one haymaker.
Here we go. You're still wrong.
No. No.
Round 2, mate.
Round 2, yeah. To me, this is where Maurice Green started to really, find his feet. He was all warmed up, finding his range even more. To me, he was just putting it on Valente, throwing some high kicks as well. Some of those high kicks look they had a hell of a lot of weight behind them. Being Maurice is such a big unit of a man. I think Valente had the right idea. He definitely had to try to push close, but he was pushing close, then stopping as Maurice Green was throwing his shots. So I think he should have carried on pushing close, even though Maurice was throwing his shots. He should have been pushing through and throwing with him and stepping in on it to try to create that in pocket warfare. But yeah, he just wasn't doing it. He was teasing Maurice back, but Maurice was the one throwing all the shots to me. He was landing low points, high kicks, punches. Yeah, just getting outworked. Don't tell me you've got Valente winning that round.
Of course. And then round 3, talk me through this and the finish. The finish was strange.
Yeah, so it was looking good for Valente. To me, I felt that he was 2 rounds down, and he managed to get the situation where it's on the ground, and he really was going at him. He connected on the feet, he followed up on the ground, he landed loads of dirty-looking elbows, but it must have been more to the forearm than it was the point of the elbow because there wasn't a mark or a bruise that seemed to show up on Maurice Green's face. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe it was the forearm that was landing on him more. But they looked brutal. He had a lot of venom behind him, and I thought there was a real risk that this fight could get stopped. But Maurice stayed methodical. He looked intelligent throughout his defence. He received the shots clean as positively as you can in the way that he looked like he has his faculties all about him. And then Valentes began to tire from the barrage that he had put in on Green, began to tire with it, and the pace slowed down. And we had this really unusual situation where Maurice, with his extremely long arms, was able to bed in an arm triangle from underneath. The commentator was saying that normally to finish this, you would have to work your fist into the side of the neck, which is how I understand this technique to work and be effective. But when you're super tired and you're exhausted, you've got to remember, Valentes just went through 2 rounds of hard contest, and the third round where he had to bust a nut to try and put the fight away, was unable to, then gets caught in a top positioned arm triangle. He must have been gasping for air, and you've got to remind yourself how big Maurice Green is. He's a 6'7" guy. That's a monstrous size. We got one guy who matches him for height. We call him Giant Lucas. And trust me, he can just do things what other people can't with his arms and legs. And the leverage that someone gets with the length of those limbs is phenomenal. So I think although the technique was not able to be applied as if it was in a top position arm triangle, I think the fact that the size of the man enabled him to be able to get the leverage with those long arms and the combination of the tiredness, which put Valentes out. But I was really impressed with the big man. Sometimes when you see someone reaching over 6'5", they can look uncoordinated and look a little clumsy. Although there were times Maurice did look a little clumsy when he was getting caught by Valentes. I think initially when he was on the attack, he looked very, very good, looked well unbalanced. I think he's a much improved person from his previous fights, and kind of excited to see how people are going to deal with that awkward body composition, being that he's so tall.
Yes, yeah, it was. He just looked so tired by the end, though, didn't he? Valente, like he genuinely looked just exhausted, and he just struggled with it. He just when he got that arm triangle in, he just couldn't. He just couldn't do anything to remotely look like getting out of it,
he was stuck in a half guard. He had to pull his leg out to give himself hope of pulling free from that position. But it was like he was just too exhausted to. He literally gave it his all with that last attack. I think 9 out of 10 times that kind of attack going on someone would put someone away. I just think the massive size of Maurice Green was his saving grace, both for him receiving that punishment that he got in that third round and the fact that he was able to pull the submission off his back with those incredibly long arms. Definitely body composition was to do with the winning result of that match.
Yeah, do you think fatigue did him as well?
Yeah, combination of
So, what do we have next up? Mike Perry versus Mickey Gall, which we obviously we touched upon that a little bit at the start of the show, but we'll go into it in a bit more detail now. So, Jordan, you've been quiet for a few minutes. Take us through round number 1 of Mickey Gall and Mike Perry.
So round 1, for the first 4 minutes of the fight, it was all stand up, and it was Gall landing the cleaner shots, but on the back foot the whole time. Perry still doing some good work, and then Perry got the takedown with the last sort of minutes to go, and then landed some good ground and pound and was getting off some good stuff from the top. And I think that's what gave him the confidence going into the second round to hunt for that takedown more. We all know Perry as being a stand and bang guy, not so much clinical striker, but a stand and bang guy. But I think when they sort of hit the ground, it was sort of back and forth on the feet, nothing major landing from either. But then when it hit the ground and you sort of seen Perry evading a black belt in Mike Perry, all of it in Mickey Gall, evading all of his submission attempts, then it just sort of gave Perry the confidence. But round 1, I think Mike Perry won it. especially
Yeah, I
with
think
takedowns.
he was very impressive, actually, Mike Perry.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, no coaches. Baffling. I still find it like really, like confusing almost. Like I just don't understand. Like at the very top level, how you can go into a professional fight in the biggest company in the world and
Yeah.
not have a coach and just have your misses and a cut man. But maybe
Yeah.
all fighters should do that. Just go in with their missus in the corner and just have like wives and girlfriends fighting on the outside. I was going to call you Graham then, Danny. Danny, what would you say about round number 1?
Mickey Gall was initially really impressing me. I was having it in my mind that his strategy would be to try to get Mike Perry to the ground. Really surprised to see him not engage the wrestling and choose to strike. Yeah, he was footworking away a little bit, but to me, the first part of the round, Mickey Gall was getting the better of Mike Perry and catching him more often. But Mike Perry, he's just relentless. He comes through, he throws everything with vigor. There's nothing super attractive about what he was doing. Even when it went to the ground, there was nothing super sexy about it. It sort of like just picks him up and dumps him down and gets it where he wanted to get. But yeah, the round went in favour of Perry really, and I think the issue here mainly was not really a technical issue between them both. Mike Perry just looked like the stronger athlete. He had very different body compositions. Mike Perry was just looked like he was just too strong. I wouldn't even say too technical. He just looked too strong. And Mickey Gall's still trying to add to his skill set. He's still a fighter very much in evolution. We're definitely going to see Mickey Gall improve on this performance. Like, I felt that there was improvements already, but I was really surprised to see that Mike Perry was actually dominating the ground exchanges as well on Mickey Gall. But that goes to show you what fatigue and feeling a bit of battery does to you. Jordan, I know that if you're feeling really exhausted and you have a lower level grappler who's fresh, you suddenly feel that they're a lot better level than they really are. Maybe that was the case of what was happening here.
Yeah, I think what Mike Perry does very well is once he does get into that dominant position on the ground, is he finds a way to pound on his opponents quite quickly and quite effectively. Look, Mickey Gall, whilst he's improved a lot, what you got to remember is when he fought CM Punk in that trash fire of a fight a couple of years ago when he came into the UFC, is he had one professional fight at that point, and you're talking the biggest company in the world, so he's learning on the job, which not many fighters are able to do that, let alone get the opportunity to do that in the UFC. So I wonder whether this could be a case of whether he's going to perhaps see out the rest of his contract, should we say, is my only concern.
How many fights deal was it? Do we know how many fights he had on his contract?
I don't know how many fights. I think he's got. I know he's got
at
least
4
one fight
initially.
left. I
Mickey
think
Gall said going as well that he felt Perry was on his way out, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah, he did an interview where he said he felt like Mike Perry was sort of on the decline of his career now, and he was ready to go out.
Right.
Oof, those words could come back to haunt him.
This was definitely a good fight to match these both up. Mike Perry's just a pure brute type fighter to me, and utterly beatable for a good strategy and a good technical fighter. You don't have to be as strong as him. You don't have to be as brutal as him. And Mickey Gall just lacked overall skill across the board to be able to take it to where he needed to be able to complete a strategy to beat Mickey Perry. We did see, like in the second round, him shooting on Perry, and he got up on a single leg clean, and Perry just didn't do anything amazing technically to defend it. He just muscled it, and this was the problem really for Gall. I think if we could see a Gall 2 years from now fight the Mike Perry of today, I think you would see a very, very different performance, but just lacking in a little overall solidarity in his game and Mike Perry's experience, and he's a tough dude. Yeah, I mean, not to take anything away from Mickey Gall, I was impressed with what I saw from Mike Perry, but really, I want to see Mike Perry up against the higher end of caliber opponent to see whether he's still got it. I can't really tell whether he's still got it from this performance alone, because I don't think Mickey Gall was up to much to push Mike Perry. To be fair,
No, he didn't have the power to trouble him, did he? He was able to
it
just
looked like
walk him down every time, really.
Yeah.
And that's always going to be problematic when you're fighting someone who's a striker, if they're able to walk you down. Anything you wanted to add, either of you, to just about round 3?
I just want to finish off that
at the end of the second.
There was things to be had from it. Yeah, there was a really good Kimura escape as well. That I think it's Mickey Gould that did it. Hang on, let me have a look here. Yeah, it's Mickey Gould did the Kimura sweep. Which was kind of creative. It goes to show he has got the mindset and the game to have successes. It's all being done on the job, like you said. It's just unfortunate, really, that he's in the UFC with such little experience overall. But I hope they give him another shot at someone that's perhaps more feasible for him to face. Although I did think that Mike Perry was a good kind of matchup for him, because Mickey Gall, skill for skill, had the areas that he was better than Mike Perry in, but the fatigue and the physicality took away from that strong skill set, and Mike Perry won through.
Jordan, anything else you wanted to add, mate?
No, just exactly what Danny said. Stuff to take down. I think maybe Gall going into the second must have thought, right, let's not let him get on top. Let's us get on top.
Yeah.
And then Mike Perry sort of did a reach round, sort of just held his own, muscled out of it, landed some big shots on the ground, and then obviously scored the huge knockdown. And I think with 20 seconds to go, maybe was saved by the bell with the ground pound towards the end.
Yeah, I think so as well.
The end of the second round, that elbow which finishes like literally the last moment of the round was brutal.
Horrible.
Yeah, it was.
And I honestly thought he ain't getting up from that. When I saw it, I was like, no way he's getting up from that, and he did, which was fair play to Mickey Gall to have the gumption. Always like that word, gumption. Is just very impressive. But there we go. And round 3, Dan.
Round 3. Yeah, Mike Perry was now in full takeover mode. I think Mickey Gall was feeling intimidated as well. He was footworking back. Mike Perry was now just like loading up combinations and not just single punches. He was coming in to stay in the pocket and trade off. It was looking an ugly affair for Gall. It is kind of looking defeated as well. There was times that Gall was walking backwards with his guard completely down, head looking up. It looked like he was just wanting to get through the round and no longer really trying to look to win the fight. He had exhaustion. He looked hurt. He looked out of ideas. I was feeling sorry for the lad. I really was. And on the ground, it just got no better for him. It was just brutal ground and pound. Yeah, he had no answers. What can you do? He just had no answers for what was coming at him. It was just a complete walkover in that final round.
Yeah, Jordan.
He just dominated in the third round. He even sliced into full mount at one stage and just landed some horrible elbow. And Mike Perry, is even graded on the ground in the gi. No. I don't know even if he's even graded. And obviously, Mickey Gall's a black belt, but it looked the wrong way around. It looked like Mike Perry was the black belt towards the end. Slipped full mount and just landed them big elbows to finish off the round.
Yeah, he had a little try, didn't he? He had a little a triangle at one point, which I was thinking, oh my God, don't say after all this he's going to get caught by a triangle. But there literally was nothing. There was nothing left on the legs of Gall. He had nothing left on him.
Even the way Perry got out of that, he just sort of spun over and stepped out and come out the back door, didn't he? And just
that's it. Yeah.
And then, so Mike Perry defeated Mickey Gold, unanimous decision, 29-28, 29-28, 29-28. I actually felt like it was... It like, for there only to be 1 point in it, it doesn't reflect the one-sidedness of the fight, I didn't think, because I felt like it was very one-sided. But, that's just the way the scoring goes. Okay, and then we had the main event, and this was a main event worthy bout. It was beautiful. We had Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker, ranked number 3. Dustin Poirier versus ranked number 5, Dan Hooker. It was a banger. Jordan, I'll let you start, mate. Tell us.
I'm rewatching it again now, if I'm honest with you. Jesus.
How good was it?
Yeah, crazy. The first round, I don't think there was one bit of wrestling, was it? It was all striking. And Poirier's nice southpaw, nice boxing. I tell you what Dan Hooker did very well in the first round, which he should have kept up, I think, a bit more going into the later rounds, was the knees to the head.
Yeah.
He's got that long range.
Caught him a couple, didn't he?
Yeah, he kept... And he walks in, he does step in knees. So when he walks in and knees your head, because he's so long, he can... A lot of guys have to clinch and pull your head down, whereas he doesn't even need to pull your head. He can walk in, throw big knees. But Dustin Poirier's boxing's clinical, man. When he's not clinical in big combinations, but clinical in his single shots, his jabs, especially towards the end. He's snapping his head back with a jab. First round, Dan Hooker, I think, with the knees to the head. I think, Dan Hooker first round. But there's some horrible shots landed.
Yeah, I had Dan Hooker the first round as well. So well done for you for being right. Danny, what did you think of that first round, mate?
I thought it was really good. Dan Hooker had a game plan, it seemed, and it was the correct type of game plan. I was actually having discussions very similar about this whole opposite footwork setup with one of my students, Hattie, that he needs to add more aspects into his game, about coming off to that lead leg side more often. And you see Dan Hooker doing this. He's done it very, very well. He was pouring the left hooks in. Okay, not all power strikes, but they're touching shots. But it was staying away from the power side, staying away from the potential boxing combinations of Poirier, and also hacking on the inside leg, which is another good thing to do with an opposite side stance, trying to stop that boxer winding up on his shots. And I just wished, and I really think he could have won this fight, Dan Hooker. It was all for him to win. If he carried on sticking to that implementation, but he started to fight in the pocket more and more as the round goes. And this seems to be where Poirier shines. Poirier loves a war, and he's technical with it as well. A couple of times he did get a little bit wayward with his hands in the latter rounds. Started throwing shots a little off balance, but I think that's partly from exhaustion. But yeah, that was the thing for me. Hooker definitely won that first round. I think the idea of his strategy was being implemented. I think they would have gone back to his corner, and the cornerman would have been very, very happy. But I bet you they weren't happy when he started trading off in the next few rounds.
No.
This was the wrong thing for Hooker to do. It played right into Poirier's hands. It really did.
Yeah, Poirier wants to make it a war, doesn't he? He wants to make it just blow for blow. You go, I go kind of fight. Whereas if Hooker had kept up that strategy, I feel like he probably would have won. Because we've talked about how impressive Hooker's been on. He's been on this massive tear, just destroying dudes and some real quality opponents as well. Poirier, though, to be fair, he's never lost 2 fights in a row in the UFC, and he's come off the Khabib fight. I know it was a long time ago because of his injury, but to come back to that, I think that's a fantastic record that he's never lost 2 in a row, because he's, I'm sure you'll both say, like, once you do, if you do have a loss or a knockback in life, it's, it is easy to kind of have a bit of a knock to your confidence and to maybe just second guess yourself a little bit, even if it's for a short period. So for him to be able to constantly come back whenever he's lost, I think is very, very impressive. And yeah, they just stood and banged for the whole fight. In fairness, until the
Yeah,
last two
but
rounds,
do you
when
know?
Hooker was struggling and he started to try and take him
Yeah,
down more.
yeah. Do you know? I think Dan Hooker started to trade in the pocket partly because of how the fight, because his previous fight was with Paul Felder, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That was his
Yeah.
last fight. We
Felder
discussed that, I think, on
retired
the
because of it.
yeah. But I think I noticed a comment come up on the screen. So Paul
Saying
Felder
he'd
said,
come out
"I'd
of
come out of
retirement
retirement
for
to
these
fight any
guys.
of these two." Yeah, because I actually felt Paul Felder beat Dan Hooker.
Did
To
you?
Yes.
Oh,
me,
that's
Dan
right. We
Hooker,
disagree. You were wrong that night
yeah.
as well.
But to me, Dan Hooker was just footworking away too much so, just too much so. And I think partly why he stood a little bit more toe to toe as the fight went down was to not do that again. So whether it's something that his team had discussed or not, I actually think he actually went against him this time. I think he should have stayed footworking away. I think the way he did his first round is the way he should have kept it, but he started, I don't know, being a fighter in every stretch of the word. He started making a fight of the fight, which I don't think he really needed to have to do that. I think he had the longer reach. He's taller. He's got the footwork skill to do it because we've seen that against Paul Felder. I think he should have carried on circling to his left-hand side or to Poirier's right, hit on the inside of the leg. That would have started to do damage. In fact, you saw the damage in the latter rounds. Poirier's inside shin was getting quite swollen, but
Yeah, those
then
leg
he'd come
kicks.
off.
He was struggling with those leg kicks early on,
Yeah,
especially,
he
wasn't he?
was,
You could see him
but
wincing. One of them stumbled
he
him.
he got caught off with a hand battle. It's like when someone kicks you hard in the leg, you feel like you have to kick them hard in the leg back. It's not always that way. He just
Yes.
started trading hands, and I've got to say, Poyer, some of the shots he landed on Dan were like, Jesus,
Horrible.
man. I mean, a lesser man would have fallen. So for what we can take from this is that Dan Hooker's definitely tough. He's still evolving and learning for sure. I think this is only ever going to make him stronger and better. So yeah, I'm not going to be writing him off anytime soon over this performance. And come on, Poirier, time and time again, has proved that he can mix it in the top five time and time again. Utterly brilliant. I love watching him fight. He's always given a great performance. And I'm sure we'll be seeing him soon once he gets stitched up and if bruises go down, we'll be seeing Poirier straight back in there again.
I wouldn't mind them running this fight back, to be honest. I gotta say.
This would be a good one second time around. And my money would be on Hooker again because I think I said that felt Hooker was going to win this fight
Yeah.
because I thought he was going to do what he did with Felder, and I think that would have suited him against Poirier. But yeah, it wasn't the case. He traded, but he had his moments. I mean, there were times when I think which round was it? He landed. Was it round 3 or 4? He landed towards the latter part of the round like a 4-5 hit combination, like a jab cross, hook cross.
Second,
It's everything landed on Poirier's head. Very, very difficult to score the early first 2 rounds, but the latter ones all went to Poirier. I had it hooker for the first 2, and Poirier really took over from then. Poirier kept going for the guillotine as well. Did you notice that as well?
Yeah. Even
that was kind of interesting. Yeah. It surprised me he went for it as often as he did because it did put him in the bottom position. And
Yes.
you can lose a round all too easy, but he mustn't. He knows what he's doing. He come good out of each round. Superb. It's utterly brilliant. And in that round 4, I don't know, I'm jumping the gun here a little bit.
No, you crack on.
But Poirier did a combination where he went for a triangle omoplata to a guillotine. It was like a chain of submissions. I didn't realise he was as proficient as he was on the ground because we so many times just see him bang and that's how we remember him. But my God, it was really, really impressive. But I was really worried for Poirier. I think it was at the end of the 3rd when all those combinations land? Jordan, can you remember?
No, it
was it the end of the second?
End
of the second.
He almost got stopped. The buzzer went as
yes.
he in the head.
Yeah.
And he actually
I didn't
bent down to 2 knees. Yeah.
Yeah. But he started shooting in on Dan Hooker in that 4th round, which is exactly what he should really be doing. And it was great to watch. It really was. And this is a fight that I will be watching back again. I have to learn from it for myself, for me, and for the students. There's things to be taken from this.
Yeah.
Well, we said last week that we thought the Josh Emmett fight was right up there as possibly being a fight of the year contender, and
Yeah.
I think to be treated 2 fights like that 2 weeks in a
Yeah.
row is special, man. That was
Yeah.
and that's what that fight was last night, was special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you just want to take us through the round 4 and 5, Dan, and I'll tell you what, Jordan, you take us, see it from you for a bit. Round 4 and 5, mate.
Yes. So round 4 and 5, it seemed Dan Hooker started trying to press the wrestling a bit more. Because I think that was through the fatigue, because
Yeah.
you could see he was physically the bigger man, much bigger than Poirer. But again, it might have been too much that he's cut weight. I'm sure he could fight at 77 quite comfortably. But yeah, 4th round, it seemed he was the one pushing the wrestling and pausing. That's what I felt he did too much, was when they hit the wall, he paused. So he sort of let Poirer land his little shots, or let Poirer turn away from the fence. And going back to round 2, Poirer started shooting in a lot more in round 2. And he wasn't so much pushing Dan Hooker up against the fence. And it looked like Dan Hooker probably trains a lot takedown defense, whereas Poirer wasn't looking to take him down. He was looking to press him, hold him, and land shots. And he just seemed to keep getting stuck in those moments.
Every now and again, Poirier would look for that guillotine, wouldn't he? When he got him in close, like.
Yeah, and yeah, like Danny said, in the 4th round, Poirier went for his back, slipped off the top. He went for a modified triangle. Then he switched to the armbar. Omoplata, started punching from the omoplata.
He actually used the omoplata and a guillotine to escape the position. It was pretty impressive stuff. That was a harder round to score, but
condition.
Yeah, I still gave it to Poirer, that 4th round. How about you, Jordan?
Yeah. I would as. Yeah.
I gave the last 3 to
the
Poirier.
action, but Poirier ended up switching it up, and Poirier started doing the more efficient damage on the ground, even from the bottom. He was also, when he was in the omoplata, he was hammer fisting him from the bottom.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
he was being. Yeah, I think that Dan Hooker started cruising in the 4th. And just lost, and the weapons that he was using early, he just stopped. The knees to the head.
He come away from strategy, he come away from original game plan. I think he'd already got himself at a state of fatigue, and was already caught up in the war and caught up in the battle. I think that the hurt was there, the exhaustion was there, and you can't think clearly when you've got all these elements going on. So I didn't take note of what the cornermen were telling him in between rounds, but I would have been wanting him to get back out of range and trying to use footwork, but his footwork went null and void as well. He just had nothing else left, and he started hunting for the takedown, which weren't always going in his favour. Poirer, amazes me yet again. He's utterly impressive. I think Dan Hooker is on the way up, and I thought he was on the way up to become a contender, but Poirer proves again that possibly it should be him that should be in contention to take on the great Khabib again.
I think with Dan Hooker as well, he relies more on his athleticism. I mean, I'm bad for doing that in the gym as well, but he relies more on his athleticism. So when push come to shove and they're both tired, it was Poirier that seemed to have the crisper techniques, hence why he was landing the jabs, the straights on the feet, and when you're fatigued, his head was snapping back, man, because he hasn't got that the energy. It's absorbing as well as he could have.
Yeah, I really liked as well in the clinch, and as they broke, Poirier's hands in the clinch throwing uppercut hooks, and then as they broke free, his work rate didn't stop. He was, they're kind of the grey areas of the fight, as you disengage and stuff. But he was throwing every single time off the disengagement, and he was filling in those gaps with some really dangerous looking strikes. I mean, credit where credit's due for Dan Hooker to stay up on the feet with some of those shots he's being landed upon. They were clean, they were technically crisp, and they were thrown with intent to put you away, every single one of them. And he received, and was still in there. His face wore it, blood, bruises, exhaustion expression, but he was still in the fight right up until the end. But
and they both mixed up the body as well. They both didn't headhunt. They both mixed up the body well.
Yeah. Smile on my face from start to finish.
They had a little bit of a back and forth after. Poirier walked up to him and said, "I thought you were going to smash my face in." when Dan.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was good to watch, and it's just one of those bouts which just remind you of why you enjoy watching this stuff.
It can't be an easy cut for Dan Hooker. Definitely not.
He's a big
No,
boy.
he's a big dude at the weight. You might wonder now whether he'll go up.
Yeah, because he's tall. He's plus 6 foot, so he's not going to be short for the welterweights.
That's right. He's got the frame and the muscularity to come up weight quite easily, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
So next week, Dan, we haven't got a card now until UFC 251, which is on the 11th of July. But
right.
So the show on the 12th of July, which we're doing, is going to be a live one. However, Danny, you're not here.
No.
Your stand-in, Richard Shaw, is also not here because you're away in Abu Dhabi, you know, with Modestus. Richard's away with Brett. So I've got looking for a replacement at the moment for Mr. Daniel Batten. So I'll announce that close to the time. But in the meantime, Danny, we'll go back to our retro reviews and our Jack Shaw, looking at his rise through Cage Warriors up into the UFC, and
sure.
we'll have a look at what we're going to do. I can't even remember what UFC number we're on, but we'll have a look. I'll have a look after the show and text you. Jordan, got anything else planned over the next couple of weeks, mate?
Just keeping the weight low, and hopefully the gyms are all back open soon and we can get back after it. I can do my bag work and stuff, but hopefully the gym's back open and then I'm ready for September, but be really, really ready for September.
That's the one.
Hopefully.
And actually, a week Tuesday, I'm recording an episode of Unscripted and Uncensored with Jordan. I'll be putting a post up in the morning, so send your questions on Instagram. It's Ace Podcast Nation on Instagram, or the Danny Batten Fight Show, which is at Danny Batten FS, and it's the same on Twitter and Facebook and everything as well. And send us questions. You can ask absolutely anything. It doesn't have to be MMA related. It could be absolutely anything. So I think when we did one with you, Dan, we were talking about all sorts of random stuff. But they're always a lot of fun. Always a lot of fun. Just depends if the people are kind to you, Jordan. Depends if Danny sends you any questions, I suppose.
Oh, I will. I will.
That's the way. That's the way.
And Jordan, are you on your bed?
Well, yes. Yeah, my missus bought it. It's a proper a proper traveller bed. I'm telling you, there's about 100 pillows I had to throw out the way to get on it.
Just to get on the bed.
Dear. You got a set of handcuffs up on the top there. What's going on with that?
Oh, don't watch that, Danny. Don't worry about that. That's from hanging around with you too much.
Bad influence, he is, see? Bad influence. Right,
You
Jordan.
learn more about other techniques than MMA.
Yeah, that's true. What happened there?
It was just me getting a bit overexcited. I was censoring you. I was censoring you. Jordan, thank you for joining us, mate. It's been a good,
No worries,
good one.
thank you for having me.
And I'll text you about next Tuesday, but looking forward to it, mate. Daniel.
Yes, thank you. And just one more observation. Jordan, can you see your name there? It just says Cage Warriors Featherweight. And under my one, it says Cage Warriors champion.
Yeah, but listen, yours was champion back in the day when you were all wearing bloody swimming shorts when you were fighting.
I'm sure we get you there. We've got one Cage Warriors champion. Now my next ambition is to get someone who is going to be a champion at the weight that I was. And that's the way it's going to be.
And I'm the man for the job.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that.
Future Cage Warriors, Jordan Vucenic.
Vucenic.
That's how you say it.
Yeah.
That's how you say it, Danny. Right, guys, it's been a pleasure. Subscribe to youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation. Tell your friends. Spread the word. The Danny Batten Fight Show every Wednesday.
Champion, welcome, Danny Batten! two.